The right to vote of every Ivorian will be fully respected in a spirit of responsibility and maturity. 83-year-old Kotara secured a third term in 2020 following a constitutional revision that reset presidential term limits. The current charter, adopted in 2016, permits him to seek re-election once more, potentially securing a fourth term in office. More than 8.7 million Ivorians have registered to vote in the presidential election scheduled for October 25. Meanwhile, tensions escalated over the exclusion of some opposition candidates, bringing back fears of past election-related violence, including the 2010-2011 crisis that killed over 3,000 people and the unrest that followed his third term run in 2020. We will never back imperialists. ANC Secretary General stands firm despite Trump's 30% tariffs. Secretary General of African National Congress, Fikile Mbalula, at a press conference in Johannesburg on Thursday, voiced the readiness to face 30% tariffs slapped by the U.S. on South Africa. The tariffs imposed by the United States of America are going to negatively affect our economy, he stated. This is what the U.S. want from us, that we must do away with certain policies, which for us, in terms of transformation, it's not going to be possible. It means we're going to suffer through sanctions as leaders of the ANC. Let it be. We will never beg imperialists to subvert our democracy, to subvert our sovereignty. Balula continued, not this ANC, not this leadership. If they want to bring sanctions on us, let them bring them. Balula claimed that sweeping tariffs are aimed at hampering the ongoing transformation process in the country. He stressed that despite negotiation attempts from South Africa, U.S. President Donald Trump persisted in his genocide accusations. We sit with him. He plays videos for us and then says on the basis of those videos, the whole of our nation must be punished. He said, despite the facts say something different. Last week, Trump's administration announced 30% tariffs on goods from South Africa coming into effect on August 7. The tariffs have the highest rate compared to the African nations. According to the governor of South African Reserve Bank, Leseg Ganyago, the 30% tariffs from its second biggest trading partner could cost South Africa up to 100,000 jobs. Currently, the nation already has an employment rate of nearly 30%.
Now we are in the democratic dispensation. We must understand that the tariffs imposed by the United States of America are negatively going to affect our economy. And you can't, for national interest, say no, undo BE and all of that in order to appease the United States of America, because, among others, this is what the U.S. want from us, that we must do away with certain policies, which for us, in terms of transformation, it's not going to be possible. You know, during the period of struggle, the United States of America, even under Reagan, characterized the ANC as a terrorist organization. Oliver Tambo went to meet the President of the United States schools, and this ambassador of the United States, who's been sent to our country now, was one of the right-wing proponents of that resolution, of banning the ANC, and that we should be regarded as a terrorist organization. And our president then, Oliver Tambo, went in the United States of America to clarify that we are not a terrorist organization. Now we are in the democratic dispensation. The President of the United States of America, we go to see him through the President of a democratically elected South Africa. We sit with him, he plays videos for us there. And then videos, and then says on the basis of those videos, the whole of our nation must be punished. He's not coming to the G20, and then that is it. Despite the fact that facts say something different. In the delegation, you've got prominent business people from South Africa, who say that this thing you are talking about is not the way it's unfolding in the country and all of that. But they are not retreating. They are intensifying. So it's to basically coerce us to do things that are anti-transformation. It's not possible. If it means we're going to suffer through sanctions as leaders of the ANC, let it be. We'll never beg imperialists to subvert our democracy, to subvert our sovereignty. It happened during the period of struggle. It will happen even now. We will never forsake our country, which we fought for its liberation. And we're still marching on even now. Not this ANC, not this leadership. If they want to bring sanctions on us, let them bring them. But this country, South Africa, all its citizens know that it is a democratic country, it's a liberated country, and we are still transforming this country in order to achieve equity.
From South Africa, let's get into some more around the world news. Western dumping kills local industry. Zimbabwe moves to ban second-hand cast ops, but today's vendors aren't happy. Zimbabwe's decision to ban imports and sales of second-hand clothing and night vending, both to crack down on crime and boost local businesses, has had a mixed reaction, with experts suggesting it could trigger a move away from Western dumping, but exiting sellers warning it will destroy livelihoods. Second-hand clothing is de facto dumping section towards our industry, said economist Malone Gwadu. Dumping basically kills the local industry in the sense that the products will be cheaper, convenient, affordable. So this will be an intention to ramp up production of our local clothing industry by suffocating or stiffing a dumping measure, such as second-hand clothes, Gwadu explained. Footage from Wednesday shows the market in Zimbabwe's capital of Harare flooded with second-hand clothing imported mainly by Mozambique and Zambia, where traders have slammed the change. We see the person who banned the sale of second-hand clothing as our enemy. This opportunity has helped even educate my kids, said Amos T. River. Another seller, Mabel Kusema, highlighted affordability, saying in stores like Edgar's, a single skirt costs $60, but here you can buy a full outfit for just $3. Titi Mufukide, who sources clothes from other countries, noted selling second-hand clothes has really helped a lot of people in the country. A buyer highlighted the low prices, saying it with just $1 you can buy 4 pieces for your children. The government has directed the city of Harare to clear street vendors and enforce the ban, saying it will help former businesses expand and reduce crime and drug trafficking associated with nighttime industry. However, media reports have suggested that investment in local businesses is needed to convince local traders to move away from the long-established informal sector. It could kill us, but we could pivot to other markets. South Africa's poultry farmers play game of chicken as Trump 30% tariff takes off. Farmers in South Africa warned the poultry industry was at risk of collapse due to looming 30% tariffs imposed by the U.S., although admitted that people to other markets could also be on the cards. With those tariffs, what we are suffering from is the actual input and export, because the raw material becomes very expensive for us. So getting them to create our own feed or to buy feed is very expensive due to those tariffs. And obviously with those tariffs, petrol goes up, oil goes up, so it then affects us as farmers as well, said Nhlanhla Brian Mr. Senja. Footage capturing in southern Johannesburg's Elkenoff on Thursday shows the local poultry farmer tending to his flock of chicks at Nosemla Agri Projects farm. Meanwhile, workers carefully inspect the livestock as part of a workshop aimed at educating young farmers about the industry. With the imports of chickens from the US, Brazil, it really kills us, because if you get them at a cheaper price, obviously people will also buy what what's sold cheaper to them by the retails, meaning the actual farmers or the small holders of agriculture and your small-scale farmers will then suffer a lot, he said, also warning that the inputs may pose health risks due to insufficient quality control. Although the U.S. remains South Africa's second biggest trading partner, and despite the short-term pain, Maseja did believe the levy increase does present an opportunity for the country's agriculture industry to diversify and explore new markets. It would really help us because we are then major players in the import and export. We stand a chance to actually make more money. It actually also grows the industry wider, and we are also privy to technologies that other African countries are using, he said. In July, President Trump announced via letter sent to South African leader Cyril Ramaphosa that any and all South African products sent to the U.S. will be subject to a 30% tariff rate effective from August 1. Ramaphosa said his administration would continue negotiating with the United States. The pair previously rolled in an Oval Office after Trump accused his opposite number of allowed white genocide in the country following the killing of farmers, which Ramaphosa strongly denied was happening.
So with those tariffs, what we are suffering from is the actual import and export, because the raw material becomes very expensive for us. When I say raw material, is what we need for your feed, which is 70% maize, protein, 10% of your sunflower, and all of those other raw materials. So getting them to create our own feed or to buy feed is very expensive due to those tariffs. And obviously with those tariffs, petrol goes up, oil goes up, so it then affects us as farmers as well.
That's the only way to walk inside the people. No other way.
With the imports of chickens from the US, Brazil, it really kills us, because if you get them at a cheaper price, obviously people will also buy what's sold cheaper to them by the retails, meaning the actual farmers or the small holders of agriculture and your small scale farmers will then suffer a lot, because with the price hike of feeds and maize and petrol, plus the influx of those chickens coming in, it literally kills all the small scale farmers, not to mention the commercial farmers, because they are the ones that control the industry. So it's a bit tricky, but honestly, yeah, it will kill all the small scale farmers, and me included. Those influx of those chickens from the US, it's going to be bad, because it's going to be bad for the small scale farmers, because they won't be buying our produce. Mind you, what is being imported also, you don't know what's being put into the chicken, your brine, your AIs that they use to grow the chickens. As you can see here, we are literally using everything natural. Your wood is natural, your sunlight, so we don't use any other ingredients that aren't supposed to be there, or to actually speed track the fast growth of the chicken. So it will then kill us in that way. For him, we don't know, because personally, with what's happening, we also might have a change of leadership, especially with the GNU being so young. We are still all learning our tricks and trades of the actual GNU and how to go about it. Like I said previously, it's politics, it's things that we can't control. Eventually, if we are to be one voice, maybe we could actually control it and say something about it. But honestly, for now, we are just spectators. So yes, with the pivot, it would really help us because we are then major players in the import and export. Obviously, with the currency change of importing and exporting, we stand a chance to actually
India
make
flash
more
floods.
money.
Injured arrive at Uttarakhand Hospital as Darali swam to leaving 4 dead, hundreds are missing. A major rescue operation is underway in Uttarakhand on Wednesday after a devastating cloudburst triggered flash flooding and massive landslide sweeping away villages and burying homes under debris. Footage captured shows a heavy rockfall strewn across the mountain roads, causing extensive damage as locals work tirelessly to clear the rubble and reopen routes for vehicles. Nearby, outside the district hospital's emergency unit, anxious residents wait while patients receive urgent medical treatment amid the robust emergency response. Local reports confirm that at least 4 people have died, while hundreds are feared trapped beneath the rubble caused by mudslides and severe flooding in the village of Darali, located about 1,150 meters above sea level. Darali is a popular summer spot among tourists. Entire buildings and apartment blocks were reportedly wiped out by the muddy flood that engulfed the village. Equipped with the heavy machinery, disaster force rescuers and army personnel were deployed to the affected state in northern India. Hunger corrodes youth from within. Lula breaks down in tears as Brazil exits UN hunger map. With tears in his eyes, Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva shared a personal story from his poverty-stricken youth during an emotional speech at the Planalto Palace on Tuesday. It marked the announcement that Brazil had once again exited the UN hunger map, according to the data from the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, a milestone Lula described as deeply personal and symbolic of the country's progress in fighting food insecurity. Hunger corrodes you from within, and what is even more serious is that people are ashamed to say they are hungry. I used to say I wasn't hungry, Lula confessed before the National Council for Food Security, recalling his early years as a factory worker with no access to a canteen. I would stay silent, ashamed to admit I was hungry, and go back to work, he added. Brazil was being removed from the list of countries with severe malnourishment after registering an under-malnourishment rate below 2.5% in 2022-24. average, according to FAO figures. During his speech, Lula recounted that he tasted bread for the first time at the age of 7. In a home where sometimes breakfast was a bowl of flour with black coffee, if there was even coffee. Born in 1945 in poverty, the president recalled his father's abandonment and the extreme conditions his mother endured to raise her children. It's easy to give a speech, but truly care for the poor, you must do it from the heart. You must have felt, you must have lived it, or known someone who did it, Lula said. Brazil's removal from the hunger map marks a milestone in the current government's public policies, while the images of the visibly moved president went viral around the world. Sour grapes, French winemakers have no idea what tomorrow will bring as EU-US deal takes hold. French winemakers are warning of severe financial strain following the U.S. government's implementation of a 15% tariff on EU wine and spirits exports, which come into force on Thursday. The tariffs imposed by U.S. Donald Trump on dozens of countries are expected to significantly impact French producers, especially those who rely heavily on the American market for red and rose wine sales. Footage taken on Wednesday shows winemaker Christophe Gauco tending to the Chateau Etang des Colombes vineyard. Later inside the winery, he inspects barrels and bottles on display. Gauco, who is also president of an independent winemakers union, explained that with the additional costs, winemakers will have to cut into the margins and scale back on investments and development plans. That in turn weakens our businesses, which are already under pressure, especially here in Audi, where we are dealing with severe drought conditions due to a tough climate context, Gauco added. For many, the U.S. has become a key growth market. According to Galco, many of my fellow winemakers have invested heavily, traveling, promoting, building commercial momentum. Now that momentum is at risk as extra costs threaten to slow sales and limit expansion into what had been seen as a promising space. While raising prices seem like a logical fix, Galco explains that global pricing dynamics don't allow much room for change. If we want to stay competitive and keep our businesses alive and dynamic, we have to stick to market prices, which unfortunately means cutting into our margins. On July 31st, the U.S. President signed a decree imposing new tariffs to be implemented from August 7. The measure aims to reduce the United States trade deficit, but threatens to impact a range of industries. And lastly, in global spotlight, emergency responders battle blazes engulfing Spain's Pontevedra forest as a raging wildfires continues. Spanish civil defense forces are battling a fast-moving wildfire in the northwestern province of Pontevedra, where intense flames have scorched through dry vegetation amid soaring summer temperatures and drought-like conditions. Footage taken on Wednesday night shows firefighters working to extinguish the blaze fueling in rural Tehran. On Tuesday around 5 p.m. local time, a fire broke out at the Torre de la Pena campsite and rapidly spread due to the strong winds and dry conditions. The emergency response was swift, with 11 ground bridges, 17 aircraft and 6 fire trucks being deployed. No casualties have been reported, while authorities say they are investigating the cause of the fire. An emergency level 2 has been reportedly declared in the region, as flames had already swept 80 hectares of surface late Wednesday. The military emergency unit reportedly deployed to help with extinguishing operation. Wildfires have surged across Europe this summer, with the European Forest Fires Information System reporting on July 29 that more than 292,000 hectares have burned across the EU, more than double the 139,940 hectares lost during the same period last year. The figure also exceeds the 19-year average, highlighting the intensifying impact of climate change on the continent. Spain is experiencing one of the hottest summers on record, with temperatures in some areas expected to reach as high as 42 degrees Celsius. According to reports, the country has recorded 1,060 deaths linked to high temperatures this July. On that note, we end Global Spotlight News. Good morning.